Are you an established small business owner or aspiring entrepreneur? Would you like professional advice to help your business grow and succeed? Well, look no further. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is the territory's #1 resource to move your business forward. Enjoy no-cost advising, low-cost training, and technical assistance from experts in both the public and private sectors. The VISBDC is nationally accredited and sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration. Visit us at our locations on St. Thomas, St. John, or St. Croix, and follow us on social media at VISBDC. For easy access to all our training and networking events, be sure to join our newsletter and download the VISBDC app. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, here to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Navigating the Unexpected, the Business Resiliency and Survival Experience. If the last few years have taught us anything, it's that the unexpected is no longer a rare event. It is a regular business condition. Whether it's sudden market shifts, supply chain disruptions, technology failures, or broader economic turbulence, the landscape can change in a matter of hours. So I'm going to ask our presenter to go ahead and share your screen so persons can see. But there is a massive difference between a business that merely survives a crisis by holding its breath and one that has built true resiliency, the ability to pivot, adapt, and actually find competitive advantages in the middle of chaos. Today isn't about theoretical textbook strategies. It's about the real world, battle tested survival experience you need to protect your operations, your people, and your bottom line when things go sideways. My name is Sharika Industrious Phillips, and I am the Network Marketing Coordinator here at the VISBDC. To help us navigate this, I am honored to introduce our presenter for today. Fredericks is an exceptional individual with a wealth of experience and expertise, making her one of the most valuable assets in the realm of emergency management, disaster recovery, and financial education. With a distinguished career as a retired Federal Emergency Management Agency employee, she has left an indelible mark on the field. At FEMA, Maxine spearheaded critical projects such as the Hurricane Marilyn Virgin Islands Roofing Program, a resounding success achieved through seamless collaboration with the entire USVI team. Her proficiency as a subject matter expert in grants management programs is unparalleled, having administered, instructed, managed, and mentored these programs across various states. Notably, she demonstrated remarkable negotiation skills, effectively navigating through multiple agencies to facilitate FEMA's administration of the Real ID program. In retirement, Maxine serves as a program manager for the United States Army Corps of Engineers Antinuitan program. Her passion for teaching and sharing knowledge led her to become an esteemed instructor at the Emergency Management Institute, delivering disaster recovery planning courses to federal, state, and local jurisdictions, public and private organizations, and business owners. Maxine recently was invited back to serve FEMA as a Anitoan reservist. Beyond her remarkable achievements in the field of emergency management, Maxine is a multifaceted individual with diverse talents and interests. She is an accomplished author, captivating public speaker, and even a professional bodybuilder and trainer coach. Her dedication to personal growth and physical well being serves as an inspiration to all. A 50-year resident to the Virgin Islands, Maxine is both a licensed insurance agent and Ferner licensed financial advisor. Leveraging her expertise, she generally offers complimentary, no obligation financial preparedness courses for individuals, families, businesses, and organizations of various kinds, including HUD first time home buyers. Her partnership with the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is testament to her commitment to uplifting the community that has been an integral part of her life. Maxine sees her work with the VISPDC as a privilege, an opportunity to give back to the people who have supported her throughout her journey to success. As a former client of the VISPDC, she was awarded Innovator of the Year for Creative Business Ventures. Her passion for community service and her profound impacts on disaster management and financial preparedness make her an invaluable asset to the VISPDC community. Maxine will impart her knowledge through training, and there's no doubt that it will have a lasting positive influence on who all participate. Here's a friendly reminder to place your questions in the chat, and it will be addressed by the presenting team either directly in the chat or later during our question and answer segment. A copy of today's presentation will be attached to the post survey email sent after this live session. We encourage you to take a few minutes of your time to briefly fill out the survey that lets us know how we are doing. This data is essential to us rendering these deliverables complementary to you. So without further ado, Ms. Fredericks, the floor is yours, and I do believe you have to swap to presenter view so we can see your presentation in slideshow mode.
You're not seeing the slideshow?
We do, but it's not in presenter mode. So we're
Oh,
seeing the
really?
slide on the left and the slide that comes next.
Hmm. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, audience. Thank you for your patience. Let's see what's going on. Are you able to see
Okay, yeah.
now?
So it's coming
What?
up. It's coming up large now. So we see it in slideshow mode.
Okay.
We're on the
All right.
slide with your picture.
Great. Okay. Just trying to see if okay. Just making sure I can navigate back and forth. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Miss Industrious, for such a great introduction. I appreciate that very much. And I am Maxine Fredericks. I'm honored to partner with the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, where I started my very first small business. I'm delighted to be here with you today for today's Business Resiliency series, Navigating the Unexpected. I want to welcome you, my audience, to participate. I want you to participate in any way that feels comfortable for you. For me, your taking time to join means that there must be something that you're looking for, and it is my desire that we will be able to support your need through sharing together in the series. I really appreciate your taking the time to join this discussion, and I honestly want this to be useful to you as well as to myself because I am a small business owner. So I invite you to participate in any way that you would like through the chat, a quick thumbs up or a raise of your hand, a one-word response, and I'll be asking for your participation. So I hope that you will really, really engage. Do you have a question? You want something that you want to share? This session is all about that. And if there are concerns or questions that I'm not able to address with the answers that you're looking for, I assure you that I will do the research and get back with you with whatever information that I find that I've been able to gather for you. Our sharing and learning from each other, in my opinion, will make this an opportunity to get to know and support each other as business owners. And that's my goal for today. So before we get started, I would like for you, if you don't mind, in the chat, if you could just type in what your business industry is. If it's retail, wholesale, whatever type of business. If you just take a second and type that into the chat, I would appreciate it very much. We get any responses, Miss Industrious? Can you hear me?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about business survival and the resiliency experience. Resiliency is not about fear. It's not about being afraid. What it is it's about being in control. There's certain things that we can't control. We can't control the weather. We can't control the power grid. My bad. Sorry about that. We can't control the power grid. We can't control when our supplies are delayed. We don't get the merchandise or the equipment that we need on time. There are health emergencies. Those are things that we cannot control. We can't control when the market changes. But what we can control is how prepared our business is to keep serving our customers, being able to protect our employees, to protect our employees, and how we can recover faster when there is an event. So this is the overview of the topics that we're going to cover today. There are 9 areas, and these are all practical strategies that every business should focus on if you are going to survive. If you want to adapt and be able to recover quickly, we are going to kind of go into all 9 of these different building blocks. So as you look at the building blocks, we've got disaster resiliency, types of disasters. We're going to talk about risk assessment, developing a disaster plan, insurance coverage, data backup and recovery, being financially prepared, training and exercises for disasters for your employees, and leveraging community resources. So of these 9 blocks, especially risk assessment from number 3 to number 9, if you don't mind, would you type in the chat which one of these is your biggest concerns today? Would your biggest concern be risk assessment? Would it be insurance coverage? Would it be employee training and exercises, financial preparedness? Can you just take a moment and type in the chat which of these would be your biggest concern as a business owner?
So to your previous question, there was someone who commented in the chat, construction.
Great. And if you have typed in which of these would be your biggest concern, which one of these areas have you been avoiding because it feels overwhelming to you as a business owner? Do you feel overwhelmed by insurance coverage? Do you feel overwhelmed by, the possibility of taking the time out to train your employees? Do you feel like you're financially prepared? Does you think your business is financially prepared for handling an emergency of any kind? So while you're doing that, I'm moving over to the next slide because now I want to go into each one of these areas and just talk a little bit about each area. And this is a roadmap for us. It's a working roadmap. So as we go through each one of these blocks, think about if you already have something already in place for each one of the blocks, if you're working on something, or do you need support in any of these areas? So think about those 3 things as we talk about, or as I talk to you about these 9 building blocks, these strategies for your business. So disaster resiliency It doesn't mean that nothing's going to go wrong. What it means is that when something does go wrong, you're not starting from zero. You've already thought about the problem, you've identified what your priorities are, and you've assigned responsibilities so that you can protect your critical information and you know what steps you're going to take. That's what disaster resilience is all about. So I want to talk about the different types of disasters that we experience here in the Virgin Islands, because sometimes we only kind of focus in on the things that we know about on a day-to-day basis. But there are many different types of disasters that affected the islands over the years. Before you can prepare your business for a disaster, you got to know the wide range of emergencies and the types of disruptions in the Virgin Islands that we've actually experienced. Of course, we know hurricanes and tropical storms. We've experienced a number of hurricanes, some of the largest being Hugo, Maryland. Then, of course, the latest were Irma and Maria. These events, they've caused businesses to be able to close, to have to close for days, weeks, and sometimes businesses have closed for good. I know many businesses that closed during Hugo, many businesses that closed during Maryland, as well as Irma and Maria. So one disaster can just shut down your business completely. Not only can it shut down the business completely, what it can do, it affects every part of life as we know it on the islands. Our homes are affected, hospitals, schools, ports, businesses, communications, fuel supplies, and the electrical system. And trust me, we're going to talk about the power grid. We'll get there. Now, the other types of disasters are floods, landslides, and coastal hazards. We have experienced, whether you are aware of it or not, some severe rainfall, flash flooding, mudslides, landslides, and rock slides here in the Virgin Islands. Your business doesn't necessarily have to be on the coastline to be affected by a landslide or a rock slide or flash flooding. Because when you think about it, flooding can block access to a lot of roads that you can't get through. Flooding can cause damage to your inventory. It can interrupt deliveries to your business. It can prevent employees being able to reach work. And it can force your customers to remain at home. There are a lot of coastal businesses that face some additional risk, and those are risks from things like storm surge, high surf, erosion, and damage to docks, boats, and waterfront property. And then there are droughts and wildfires. We have experienced periods of extended droughts and extreme dry conditions here in the VI. Like right now, I'm looking around and we're seeing that everything is beginning to turn brown because it's getting very, very warm. So droughts affect our water supply. They affect the agriculture. So all of the farming that's done on all of the islands is affected when we have droughts and we have, wildfires that as a result of those. Dry vegetation can also increase the risk of brush and wildfires. And these events, even though they develop slowly, they can still create some very, very serious financial and operational problems for businesses on our islands. Earthquakes and tsunamis. Earthquakes, we get them very, very frequently. A lot of times we don't actually feel the earthquakes. Tsunamis, we haven't had a major tsunami on the island in a number of years. But we're located in a very active seismic region, if you're aware of it or not. And these are events that occur with little or no warning. We know when a hurricane is going to come. We know usually flash flooding. We can pretty much tell when there's going to be dry seasons. But a tsunami, we have no idea, or an earthquake, we have no idea. And this means that you, as a business owner, you got to prepare for emergencies that arrive immediately, not as opposed to, in addition to those that you know that are actually going to happen. Then we've got public health emergencies. Of course, we're all familiar with COVID-19, but in the past, we've had things like dengue. I think there's an upsurge. I understand that there's an upsurge in dengue right now. We had the Zika virus. And so when we have these public health emergencies, what it means is that it reduces the availability of our workforce and increases absenteeism, and it affects customer confidence. It People think about, I don't want to come to the Virgin Islands because there is a public health risk for traveling here. Then there are human caused and technological disasters. Some disasters result from accidents, there are equipment failures, industrial incidents, or human actions. And of course, you know that we experienced some aviation accidents here on the island, notably the one for the American Airline Flight 625 that happened in 1976. We've had a number of smaller aircrafts that have actually crashed in and around our territory. There's some structural fires that have happened, accidents, oil spills, especially on the island of St. Croix, cyber threats with our banks and some of our other institutions where the security of your information has actually been threatened. And then lastly, of course, power outages. This is the most frequent and destructive event that is affecting Virgin Island businesses and residents today. The loss of electrical power. When the power stops, it stops our payment systems. It causes damage to refrigeration, air conditioning, small appliances, large appliances, water pumps, internet service, communication, and just the normal business operations on a day-to-day basis, and the frustration that it causes not being able to operate normally. When we have outages, everything is affected: the food, medication, security, schoolwork, communications, the ability to remain safely and comfortably at your business and at your home. And because this issue is so important and it affects nearly everybody in our community, I'm just introducing it here. We're going to return to the power outage in greater detail during our final business resiliency roundtable, which is something that I want to introduce to you. So we can talk about the true impact. And more importantly, I want us to be able to share some of the practical solutions that we've all come up with as business owners, so that we can help to share and support one another. Disasters can be very small as well as being personal. So just remember, an event, it does not have to affect the entire territory for it to become a disaster for your business. A failed freezer can be a disaster for a restaurant. A broken water line can close a beauty salon or hair salon or spa or a medical office. A cyber attack can shut down an accounting firm. The illness of an employee can interrupt a small company whose knowledge is connected to just one person. So the disaster is not defined only by the size of the event. A disaster is also defined by the effect that it has on our ability to be able to operate our businesses successfully. The good news is that resilience of the Virgin Islands is incredible, because if we look at the history of our islands, we should not only see hardships, We should also see the extraordinary resilience of the people of the Virgin Islands. We've experienced hurricanes, floods, droughts. We've experienced all of these different types of events. Yet the people here on these islands have continued to rebuild their homes, reopen businesses, restore services, and support one another. And new businesses are continually opening here in the Virgin Islands. Businesses have shared generators, fuel, ice, transportation. Employees have continued to serve in the community under extremely difficult conditions. My apologies. My apologies. I've been trying to turn my phone off, and for some reason I haven't been able to turn it off. So I apologize. So I want to ask you a question. Of all of the disasters and disruptions that, I kind of talked about, all of the different things, which one of these do you think would be the most difficult for your business to manage today? Which disaster affects your business the most? If you don't mind, if you could just put that in the chat for me, I'd appreciate it. And we can kind of discuss that. And if you have anything you want to say about it, we can talk about it now. So I'm going to move on to risk assessment. Risk assessment, we know that things like power outages create frustration. Not only they create frustration, they the financial losses and the hardship for businesses and families. And like I said, we're going to make some space for that discussion during the roundtable. But right now, I want us to use those experiences to identify what is within our control and what each business needs to protect first. What do you need to protect? We've identified the different types of disasters and disruptions that can affect our territory. And so this risk assessment really simply means asking two questions. The first question is, what is most likely to disrupt your business? And the second question is, what could happen if you are not prepared for a disastrous event? Every business has a different risk. A restaurant may be concerned about refrigeration. If you're a retail operation, you might be depending on lighting, security, and electronic payments. Every business has something that is affected, like that affects that business to the point where it could not possibly continue to be in business. So what is it? What is the one thing that would affect your business? So that is the one thing you want to really focus on, because that's what you need to focus on, and making sure that you can keep your business up and running. So when there is an event and you look at your risk assessment, some of the things you want to think about is that, does it cause you to lose sales? Absolutely. Does your inventory spoil? Absolutely, if you have inventory. Can your employees continue to work? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Are your customers able to reach you? Can you process payments? Is your building or your location secure? And how long can you operate before the situation becomes a financial emergency for you? So a useful way for you to access each risk is to consider three things. One, how likely is the risk to happen? Two, how serious the impact would be on your business? And three, How prepared are you right now? So the purpose is not to eliminate every risk, because that may not be possible. The purpose is to be able to identify the risks that could hurt the most and decide where preparation to manage that or those risks should start for you. So think about your business for a moment. What is the one function you absolutely must keep operating during a disruption? What is the one thing that you absolutely must do? If you don't mind, put that in the chat. It could be payments, it could be refrigeration, it could be communication, internet, customer service. What is the one thing that you absolutely must keep operating during a disruption? So I'm going to just take a moment and check in with you, Miss Industrious. Are we having any input into the chat?
Okay, so to your prior questions, we had someone that said financial preparedness. We also had someone comment and say risk assessment. And more recently, we have maintain your health slash peace.
Okay, so the first one was what? Financial preparedness.
Yes. And then after
Okay,
that, someone commented three, risk assessment.
okay,
Someone said maintain your health slash peace. And we have a
okay.
comment that just went in and it says technology slash telecommunication, not able to contact clients and employees.
Awesome, awesome. So is anybody out there, do you want him to comment? Do you want to bring something to the table? Something that you want to share or what's actually going on in your business? And let's just take a moment and do that right now if you're interested.
And so if
Because
persons
I
are interested,
go
they can
ahead.
actually unmute their mic and speak to you directly, or they can go ahead and place that in the chat.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I was saying that persons can unmute their mic and talk to you directly, or they can
Yes,
continue to place their comments in the chat.
either or. Whatever is comfortable. This is about, being in a comfortable space and have that conversation. But I do have information on financial preparedness. That's one of the things that we do, and I'll talk about that before we leave, and the other topics as well.
Hi, good afternoon. I
Yes.
um I listed technology along with telecommunication. That would be something that I would have to definitely secure if there is a disaster because our community, we use a lot of cell phones to talk back and forth, the different applications via our cell phones and our iPads. So I'm seeing if we don't have, proper telecommunication, or like if the cell phone towers are down, or if we don't have the internet, that could definitely hamper my operations because I can't reach out to my associates. I can't give them any updates, and as well as I can't reach out to my clients, so my clients can't reach out to me. So I do think that's something that is a major concern. I experienced that after Maria because I was a Sprint customer then, and Sprint completely fell off the map. So I had to immediately shift to AT&T during that time period just to have some type of communication tied to my business.
Oh, that's great input. So while we're there, I want to know if there's anybody in the audience that has had a similar experience. And if you have had a similar experience, have you found a way to get around that? What have you been able to do to get around it? So, and I'll share this with you for our business. Before we got Starlinks, we actually had, and we had both at the same time. We had Via, and we also have T-Mobile. But we didn't have, we haven't had been able to have consistent service because when the power goes off, Via, of course, is not working. So we invested in two Starlink systems. We went, and Cost You Less had them on sale. We went and we got two of them. We realized we only needed one. However, my son had an event during the time that Carnival was, and he did not have access to a mobile application. We used to have like a modem for T-Mobile, but I had cut it off and I forgot about it. And we were trying to get the event set up, and so we were able to run back to the house and pick up the Starlinks, just plug it in, and it made the world of difference. It changed the entire way that the event actually moved forward. So that was a plus for us. I actually was going to take the unit and try to sell it back or give it away, but then what I decided is that, you know what, I'm going to keep this unit because I can use it as a backup. And so that's been a great, great lifesaver for us. So that's one of the ways that we've been able to get around, not being able to communicate. And so even though the power goes off, we still have the internet service through Starlinks.
I have the same thing. So I have Via and I have Starlink. And sadly, I also have the hotspot on my phone just to
Good for
make sure I
you.
have multiple options. But the Starlink, it will stay up, but you do also need the power pack or something to plug it into because you have to plug it into the wall if you just have the regular system.
Right.
So power packs and yeah, it's a lot just to keep the business going, but it makes a huge difference in the event of, our local power outages
Yeah,
and disaster. Mhm.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree. It's like you're living in a different world when you have access to those things and the power goes off. And
Yes.
sometimes I very seldom know that the power goes off because I ended up having to invest in solar panels.
Mhm.
So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So it's really important, of all the things that you talked about that's critical for your business to function. This is why it's so important that we, like we do emergency planning, and this takes me into the next building block, which is talking about developing a disaster plan. So once we know what our risks are, you know what your risks were for your business, you know how important it was for you to have, and now it's costing you to have all three of these different things. In addition to you still have to maintain, the electrical bill that you have, which it gets pretty expensive. So you know what risk that's most likely that you're going to have and what you need to keep your business function. So the next step is to be able to develop a disaster plan that tells you exactly what to do before, during, and after you've had a disruption. So if you were unable to reach your business like in the next 10 minutes, next week, next couple of days, who would know what to do besides you? Anybody just want to have that answer? Who would know what to do in your business? Besides you, and if you have a business partner, who else that's in your employee would know exactly what to do? I don't hear anybody out there. Anybody talking about Sharita, Miss Industrious?
We don't have
Um,
oh, someone is unmuting. Go ahead.
yeah, it's a really good question, but you asked who, and I don't have a who, so I didn't
Okay.
choose to answer, but it's a question I'm taking note of because I mean I have long-term associates that will definitely come and try to find us in the event of an emergency because we have like a set schedule or what have you. But as far as it being written down to say this is your responsibility in the state of an emergency, or this is someone else's responsibility, that is something to think about.
Yeah. And I tell you this because I have spent so many years in emergency management. Having the plan is essential. Now, we're not talking about something that's elaborate. We're just talking about who knows what to do, how to do it, when to do it, if you happen not to be around. Suppose something happens to you and you can't be there. So if you have a plan and it only exists in your head, or like you said, it might be someone who might come to look for you, but somebody who is in your employ, somebody else needs to know how that business is operating, how it runs, and what needs to happen before an event, during an event, and after the event has happened. So what the emergency plan does, it gives your business direction when your normal operations are not there. So the plan, the plan, the plan. And I'm glad to hear you say it's something that you are thinking about. It's something you need to do because it's something that all of us need. Well, and not just think about this. At one point, I had kids at two different schools. If something major happens, and we used to talk about this, if something major happens, where do we meet? If we're all scattered on the island, where do we meet? How do we meet? How do we, what kind of communication support? We don't have access to the phone because something happened. But have we talked about how we're going to meet? Do we talk about, even at home, if something major happens, if there's a major fire, where do we go? What do we do? So having a plan in place is critical. A plan can help you to identify what parts of your business can continue or must continue. It decides who's responsible for employees, who's responsible for customers, who's responsible for the equipment, the records, the inventory, and the type of communication that you have. It helps you to be able to keep your emergency contact information current. People change their phones, people move different places. Do we know where all of our employees live? Do we know how to get to them? Do they know how to get to us? Can they get to us in the event of emergency? What about your backup records? Do you have suppliers, alternate suppliers, in case you can't get ice from one place? Can you call somebody else because that's your alternate supplier for your ice or whatever you need? What about your payment methods and different work locations? If you can't operate out of one place, you got a construction company, can you operate out of a different location? If you have a janitorial service, is all your equipment in the same place? Do you have a backup location for all of that? And if you do, have you identified that on purpose? Is it just a checklist? Which a checklist is fine, but the plan should be something that's very simple. It's something that can be executed by anybody. Everybody should know where that plan is. It should not be something that, just a one or two people know about where it is. The most important thing that plan should identify is safety. How do you account for yourself? How do you account for your family? How do you account for your employees? And how do you determine if the location where you are is actually safe? So that is what's most important during the disruption. You want to make sure that you activate some kind of a communication plan, make sure that it's clear, make sure that you have consistent information in that communications plan. Your employees should know whether, like if people don't all report to work at the same time, maybe they are in different shifts, I'm sorry. Employees should know when to report to work. When do they work remotely? When did they relocate or when do they stay at home? They should know whether your customers should know if your business is open. How do you communicate that? How does someone, if you're not around, how does somebody else communicate to your customers if the business is open, if it's closed, if it's operating with limited services? So this is a time to focus on essential operations. The disaster plan must determine or identify what can continue and what must temporarily stop during a disruption. So what happens after the disruption? The plan should address how to assess the damages, how to document everything, who takes the photographs, where the receipts that you use to get back up on your feet, where the records that may have been lost of your inventory, that was lost, and how long was your business unable to be able to operate. Your insurance company, who's your insurance representative? How do you get a hold of your insurance representative? How do you, if you have a landlord, what about your suppliers? Your lenders, if you have lenders, your emergency agencies when they're necessary. So these are things that the plan should identify. And these are things that you need to communicate with your employees and customers about reopening. Review your plan honestly. What worked? What failed? What did you need? And what did you not have that you needed? Every time that there's a disruption, every time there's a power outage or disruption, that should teach us how to improve the plan for the next time. And I'm really glad that you stated that you have all these different modes of being able to communicate, because what that indicates is that because you've had these failures, you now have put into place all of these different things that helped your business to be able to communicate. And these are actually lessons that we want to be able to share with each other. So once we've identified the plan, what do we need to be protected? The next building block talks about insurance coverage. And I can honestly tell you, there was a time where I actually did not like insurance at all, because I considered insurance to be a ripoff. However, in order for me to become a financial advisor, I had to become an insurance agent. And that's when I really began to learn to appreciate insurance. And the reason I began to appreciate insurance is because I now understood the questions I needed to ask. Who was responsible for answering those questions. And so it made a total difference for me. Your insurance is a very important part of resilience. Having an insurance policy doesn't automatically mean that every loss that you have is going to be covered. And that's what I found out by becoming an insurance agent. You may have commercial property insurance. It could or it could not cover some of the physical damages to your building, to your equipment, to your furniture. And then there's business interruption or business income insurance. This may be insurance that's going to help replace the loss of income. It could help to replace some of your everyday working items. But you got to know exactly what your insurance actually covers. And this is something we need to really pay close attention to, because some of us may have, or some of you may have business interruption insurance, and you have a power outage, and then all of your equipment has gone bad, but that doesn't automatically trigger that the insurance is going to take care of it if that's not stated in your policy. Your coverage, your insurance coverage should depend on what caused the damage, whether your property suffered physical damage, whether the damage occurred to an off-site utility facility, how long, the if it's a power outage, how long did it last? Whether you purchased utility interruption, equipment breakdown, if all of those things were actually in your policy. For example, if you're a restaurant and you got thousands of dollars in food that you've purchased, and then you have an outage, a power outage, you don't know. Do you know whether or not that food is actually going to be covered? So it is most important that you should have your insurance agent to show you exactly where in your policy any questions that you have concerns about. And these are things you need to think about before. A good thing that I actually use now is I go to AI and I start asking around, asking questions because it prompts me to think about things that I hadn't thought about, especially when it comes to things that I don't know anything about. So it is always good for you to know exactly what it is that you want to know about in your policy. Have your agent to show you where it is in the policy. You take that policy and you highlight that information so that you can go back to it if in fact there is a disruption and you knew that you purchased coverage for a specific item, because documentation is critical. I'm sure that all of you probably have had experience with insurance agents after Irma and Maria. And I can tell you honestly that I had a go around with my insurance agent, the guy who did the appraisal. I had to fight for what I needed to be replaced and what I had actually paid for. So, just think about it. If you lost power like right now, you lost it tonight, and your business had to be closed for like 3 or 4 days. Could you identify and show your insurance company what inventory you lost, how much income you normally would have earned during that time that the power was out, and what continuing expenses you still have to pay? Are you able to do that? Having insurance can't prevent a disaster, but if you have the right coverage and you have the right documentation, you can determine whether your business recovers or whether one disruption could cause your business to close completely. So your action step in this case is very simple. Review your policy, know what's in your policy, ask questions, ask. Make sure you go to that policy, identify, have that agent to show you exactly where the language is that shows that you are covered for the things that are important to make sure that your business stays in operation. And if there are some gaps, some things that haven't been covered, you want to make sure that you cover yourself in those areas that are most important to you. So the next building block is backup data and recovery. And I think you did a really good job of explaining what it is that your business does for backup and recovery. Does anybody else have any questions about backup data and recovery? Because it's so important that you got that information, you have it, you know where to get it, you know where it is, you know if something happens, how can you recover and how can you recover quickly?
So I don't see any questions with regards to data backup and recovery, but there is a comment in the chat. In the process of doing a business plan, these are great tips to follow.
They are. I honestly can tell you, because of the work that I've done in disaster recovery, these really are the building blocks to make sure that your business is secure. Make sure that your business can operate before, during, and after a disruption. So thank you for that comment, and it is really, really appropriate. Information is business. Just keep that in mind.
And we have
If
another
you
comment.
lost, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have
Um,
another comment from the
okay,
chat.
go ahead.
Um, I prefer cloud storage, which allows me to access my files from anywhere.
That is an excellent, excellent point. And whatever works for you, and I'm not sure who put that in there. Can you kind of give us maybe there's other people who want to know a little bit more about cloud storage. So can you talk about your cloud storage and how you use cloud storage in your business? Can you share some of that information with us, please?
Hi, yes, I can. So I have a Microsoft subscription. So I sign up with it and it allows me additional cloud storage. So although I work off of a laptop or my iPad,
Mm-hmm.
everything that's uploaded and saved within my files within my laptop slash iPad, it's automatically saved within my cloud storage. So if my laptop were to crash or if I can't access my iPad with my Apple ID, I can log in anywhere with my Microsoft account and still have access to even data that's on my desktop. No, Microsoft is paid for and they do have some free components, but I have another friend of mine who uses Google Docs, which is free, and they allow you to store data and documents within the cloud, which means it's stored online in the event anything may happen to any physical equipment, drives, or anything that you may have.
That's excellent. So have you had the opportunity to use your iCloud? And if so, can you kind of give us an example of what happened and how you were able to recover your information?
Oh, so I've had a failed laptop, but I like technology, so I always explore it before it becomes a need. So like I have Starlink from the time it said it was available in your area. So I don't necessarily wait for emergencies to happen, but I kind of have the foresight to like, okay, if my laptop were to fail again, then I would lose all my files. I would lose all my documents that are within the laptop's hard drive. So when Microsoft more or less introduced this option, I just automatically use it. I don't necessarily save anything to my desktop. Um, Everything is, well, I do, but it's all linked to the cloud system. And it looks like an actual file. You open a file folder in your computer, you save the data, whatever you label that file as, ABC Business, it's all there. If I travel, if I'm in an airport, if I'm somewhere else and I log into my account with Microsoft, I can access every single file within that folder. So I haven't had the situation where I've lost data, but I just always have access to my data, even from my phone. I could go into my Microsoft file and I'm able to access any document that I have saved. And
That is
yeah,
awesome.
and a
Okay.
free option would be Google because Google offers the same thing through their Google Drive. So
Hmm.
that's also an opportunity.
Great. So
Mhm.
we're going to be talking about set. I would like for us as a group to set up like a community group where we can help and support one another. So you're having that expertise and that knowledge and the desire and wanting to do that. Would that be something that you would want to share with the group so that we can kind of, make sure that it's an opportunity. It's a place for us to start having these conversations with
Mhm.
one another.
Oh
That
yeah,
would be
definitely.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay, that would be awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
You're
you for
welcome.
your participation. Yes. So, our next topic is about financial preparedness. That's one of the most important building blocks of business resiliency. A disaster can stop your income immediately, but your expenses are going to continue. And the lights are off, the rent may still be due. Your employees may still need to be paid. Your loan payments, your insurance premium, your utilities, your taxes, all of your supplier obligations, they don't automatically stop because the business has been disrupted. And I know we all know this. So that's why financial preparedness is not simply about having money in the bank. It means knowing how long your business could survive if revenue suddenly stopped. So if your business could not operate for a week, 2 weeks, or 30 days, are you prepared to pay your most important expenses? That's something that you need to think about. Every business should know its minimum monthly operating costs. You should be able to identify which expenses are critical and determine how much emergency funding you might need to continue operating your business. So the action step I want you to think about right now is, if you haven't done it already, calculate the cost of keeping your business operating for at least a month. Identify the financial gaps that you have and begin developing a strategy to close that gap. And I'm going to offer you something at the end of this that will help you, a complimentary service. When a business disruption occurs, if your business, if you understand the numbers, it can help you to make better decisions, help you to be able to respond faster, and you can recover more confidently. So, financial preparedness is critical to your business. Employee training and exercises. You have a plan. So you already got a plan in place. You know where everybody, and everything is in place for before, during, and after. But have you exercised it? Have you had that exercise, or do you do those exercises with your employees? So it's great having a plan, but the people who are responsible for carrying out the plan, do they know what to do? Do they know who's in charge? Do they know who is responsible for contacting employees and customers? Do they know how to protect equipment and important records? When you close, when to evacuate, when to move to an alternative location. So how are you able to continue to serve your customers safely? Training and exercising with your employees answers all of the questions that I just asked. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can start the training and the exercising with the short staff, with just short staff discussions, like, in the morning when people come in, you might want to talk about one or two things. If somebody's late or somebody called in and and they couldn't get into the phone, that's a great opportunity to stop and have a discussion. Like, we need to be able to know where you are. We need to make sure that we have the latest updated information to how to be able to contact you and explain why it's really important. So when there's a power outage, you might just say to your employees, "Hey, the internet is down. Do we know when service is going to return?" Usually, sometimes you will get reports. Who's responsible for keeping up with the power outage schedule in your business? Is it you? Is it somebody else? And it's something that you can, give to somebody else. Um, just like I asked if the person would like to help us to understand about the cloud and how it operates. There's somebody in your business, this resonates with them, this means something to them, they would be more than happy to actually do something like that. So who calls WAPA? Who knows someone that works at WAPA that they can actually call and find out what's going on? So that person probably could be the person who takes care of all of the power alerts for you, who checks on your customers. Who is it that's in the business that has that relationship with the majority of your customers, and they can call the customers and find out what's going on with them. It's, like when we have something that's going on, remember we got customers out there. People are really happy to know that somebody reached out to them to find out if they were okay. So who communicates with employees who are not at work? Most of us have some kind of relationship with the people who work with us. We kind of know either where they live or something about their living conditions. So these simple little exercises that we can do every day in the business. Like, where do we meet up? If something really bad happened and we got kind of scattered, maybe some people are in the office and some people are not in the office. Where is a point that we can actually gather in the event that we don't have any communication? Have we had this conversation with our family? Have we had this conversation with our kids? Have we told our kids that if something happens at work, this is what we need to do? This is where you need to think about going, so that they have that in their mind. But everybody should understand what their role is during, before, during, and after an event happens. Let me ask you, if something happened in the next 20 minutes, could you reach your business? Would your employees know what to do without waiting for instructions from you? Would they know what to actually get up and go and doing? So I had this friend who had a restaurant, and this was after Maryland. And what she told me is that the day after the event, half of her staff showed up to the restaurant. They were able to get the restaurant open, cleaned up, open, because they had some place to go, because they know that they could eat there. And they know that they could bring their families there and eat. So they figured out a way to get that restaurant open. They could use the bathroom facilities. They could bring their families there. They were able sometimes to stay overnight in that restaurant. So these are the exercises, these are the training things that we can do. And these are all simple things that we can actually do. So next I want to talk about leveraging community resources. And that's going to lead into the final session that we're going to talk about today. So you should not be trying to prepare for, respond to, and recover from any kind of event on your own. We know here in the Virgin Islands, all of the things that we experience, the hurricanes, the floods, the public health emergencies, all of those things, our experience shows us that recovery is often stronger and faster when businesses, government agencies, nonprofit organizations, financial institutions, and community partners work together. We know that. Leveraging community resources begins with knowing who can help, what assistance could be available, and how to reach those resources before an emergency actually occurs. Our community is small enough. We all know somebody that knows somebody, or we know them directly, who we can contact and who can provide us with some kind of help that we need. That's the beauty of living in this community. But our community support is not just limited to these outside assistance programs. We can help one another, and we have to help each another. In this climate, we have to help and support one another. We can do that by identifying alternative suppliers. If you know somebody that has a supply that you don't have, and somebody else has a resource, we should know that. We should know who we can actually go to. We should be creating referral partnerships with one another. If we can share temporary workspace, why not? It just makes sense. internet access, charging stations, backup power, all of these things. These are all great examples of things that we can do with each other and for each other. Whenever there's an extended, some kind of power outage, one business may have a generator, another might have a reliable internet access or the source of how we can do it. As my daughter and I were just having a conversation about, I don't know if you see all of where they have the cameras all around the island and they have those little solar stations. We should have those solar stations in our businesses. Why shouldn't we have them? Why shouldn't we be sharing things like that? So if you weren't able to operate tomorrow, who and what community partner can you call on? You should be able to call on at least 3 people for immediate help if something happens to your business. A business, it may not be the exact same business in your industry, but something that applies to your industry. And when you think about it, everything is connected. All of our businesses are connected in some way. So the action step here is very simple. Create a community resource list on your own. Think about 3 potential business partners that you can communicate with, and you can have a conversation about how you can support one another if a disruption happens. Resilience is not only about what your individual business owns. It's about the relationships, it's about the partnerships, it's about the resources that you can access when you need them most. So those are the 9 building blocks. So that brings us to our business resiliency roundtable. I want us to tap into the experience, the creativity, the resourcefulness that already exists within our community. The truth is, we already have, and we've already found ways to operate through all of the disruptions. We all know how to operate. And if we're going to have continued and unannounced power outages that are affecting our businesses and our residences, this is not just simply an inconvenience. They're damaging your equipment, your refrigeration systems, your air conditioning systems, your payment equipment. Right now, even though I have solar and I have backup battery, I don't have a power surge for my backup batteries. That's the next thing that I need to get. It's like one thing after another. I have a pad built for a generator, but I don't want to buy a gas generator. I want to buy a generator that's solar. How can I share my generator with other businesses that are near me? I live in an area where there are a number of Airbnbs. How can I have a neighbor that has 2 neighbors that have generators, but how can I share my solar power with them? I would love to be able to figure out how I can do that. So there's not one perfect solution for every business. And it's not who has the biggest generator, the most expensive solar system, or the most resources. What are some practical and affordable and creative and collaborative solutions that we can put into action as a community? We don't have to start off big. We can start off very small, just this within this group of, how many people are on this call? How can we share our information with each other? The 4 words on this slide: share, learn, connect, and strengthen. We want to share what's working, learn from real experiences, connect with other businesses so that we can help one another. And we want to be able to strengthen so that our businesses are around forever. These are businesses that we want. These are businesses that we've created. These are businesses that have been working for us very long periods of time. So when we share, what's working for your business? And what lessons can we take from one another? And how do we connect with one another? We can connect right here. right? Sharing our information. If you want to put your information in the chat, if you don't want to put your information in chat, I'm going to share with you a complimentary service that I would like to offer to you. And this is my daughter, Melissa and I. Melissa and I moved in this community. I've been in this community like 50 years. This will be 51 years in September. Business resiliency and being in this community for 51 years, I've actually operated a number of businesses for over 20 to 30 years, really, since I've been here. I started out, as a school teacher and just continued to move forward and move forward. So we've all our businesses. We want to build them. We want to sustain them. We want to make sure that we have something to leave as a legacy for our children. And we've talked about a number of building blocks of resilience, but information only becomes valuable when it is turned into an action step. And that's why I want to offer you a complimentary an opportunity to schedule a complimentary one-on-one business resiliency session with Melissa and I. This is not a sales presentation. You don't need to have everything figured out before contacting us. In fact, you may simply just have a concern, a question, or a problem that has been keeping you up at night, something that you've been thinking it on your mind, and you just want to share it and share it with somebody else. During the complimentary session, we can discuss disaster-related issues that are affecting your business or your event. We can talk about, financial preparedness. We can talk about a number of things, and most importantly, we can connect with each other and share experiences. We bring more than 40 years of disaster management experience from my daughter's a former FEMA employee. I am retired from FEMA. And we have worked in just about every area of the federal government for FEMA: individual assistance, public assistance, hazard mitigation, environmental and historic preservation, public affairs, grants management, and disaster recovery. So our experience includes service at FEMA headquarters and across all of the 9 FEMA regions and in partnership with state and local governments. We understand, I definitely understand, Melissa and I both understand disaster preparedness, not only operational, but we also understand it financially. And in addition to our disaster work as financial educators and advisors, we've been able to support FEMA employees in understanding their personal and their financial retirement benefits. So we help businesses and nonprofit organizations explore disaster financial planning, emergency savings, investing, employment retirement programs, long-term financial strategies, including endowment planning. So our connection to this work is deeply personal. We are deeply rooted in this community. Combined, we've got like 90 years of living here, working here, mentoring, educating, and investing in the Virgin Islands. This is where we do business, and this is home for us. So our mission is to help to strengthen your business, support your employees, help you strengthen your business, support your employees, and build healthier financial futures for our community. So I'm not asking you to not leave today with only good information. I want you to take a concrete step. I want us, this group of people, to come together and think about how we can actually support one another. Let's talk about our concerns. Nothing starts big. It always starts small. It always takes one candle lit to light another candle to make things happen. And you're here on this call because this is important to you. I'm here because it's really important to me. And we don't have to solve every problem. We just need to solve a problem, something that's detrimental to each and every one of us. So I'm asking you today to take the first step. Take the first step and let's see how we can work together as a small business community to help one another.
All righty.
Are there
Thank
any
you so much
questions?
for your
Are there any
presentation.
comments?
Thank you so much for your presentation. We don't have any questions right now, but we are pressed for time. So I'll go ahead
Okay,
and navigate to the next slide. Thank
okay.
you so much for your
First of all,
patience.
I just want to thank everybody for participating. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention and your participation. And thank you so much, Small Business Development Center Virgin Islands, for hosting this important series.
You are most welcome. Thank you for all that information. So as we navigate to the next slide, and we do have comments acknowledging that this was a great presentation and that this information is vital information. The VI SBDC has so much more in store for you as VI small businesses. You can visit our website at www.vispdc.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to the VI SBDC YouTube channel for uploads of our webinars. We encourage you to download the complimentary VI SBDC app from the appropriate app store. And I am going to navigate the SBDC website to show you some of the webinars that we have coming up. So as I share my screen, this is the SBDC website. And for you to see the events that are coming up or have already happened, we want you to select the training tab, go down to events. It's going to take you to this page, and we want you to go ahead and click on the VI SBDC registration portal. Like if you're looking for events that have already occurred and you want to watch at your leisure, we want you to pay attention to the event type, select on demand. Make sure center says all, and when you hit search, you can go ahead and you can watch these webinars at your leisure. So they're already there. And if you need any additional information with regards to contacting the presenter or any handouts, we can have that available for you and email it to you directly. Let's mention the events that we have coming up. Alrighty. So on June 24th, we have the ISBDC advisor Liza Margolis, and she is going to be delivering a session on digital marketing 101, boost your business visibility on a budget. On June 25th, our Puerto Rico and USVI team from the VBAC, that's the Veterans Business Outreach Center, they're going to be hosting a session that starts at 10 a.m. and that session is entitled Introduction to Business Planning. And to close off the month, we have presenter Langley Shazar. And on that Friday, June 26th at 11 a.m., he's going to be focusing on Fire Yourself as CEO, how to stop firefighting and start future building. So those are the webinars that we have coming up. I'm just going to go back to see if I missed any questions. We don't have any questions at this time. Ms. Fredericks will send me a PDF version of today's presentation so you can be able to access the slide deck. And so to everyone in the audience, we thank you for your time and attendance. Ms. Fredericks, it's always a pleasure collaborating with you and your team on this initiative. We appreciate all the information that you have to offer to the USVI small business community. So on behalf of the entire VI SBDC network, compliments of our State Director, Ms. Karen Jones, we thank you for your time and attendance, and we wish everyone a productive rest of day. Bye, everyone.